If you've been feeling tired for no reason, your mind is trying to tell you something. That's where this story begins. Not with loud trauma, but with the quieter kind, the one that follows you into adulthood like a shadow you can't name. And if you stay with me until the end, you're going to learn why certain patterns in your life don't come from weakness but from wounds you were never taught to see. You're going to understand why you overthink, why you disconnect, why you struggle to voice your needs, and how to finally change the script. Imagine this. It's late, the house is silent, and you're sitting on the edge of your bed, staring at your phone even though there's nothing new on it. You're not sad, but you're not okay either. Feels like something is missing inside you, but you can't explain what. Maybe you've had this feeling for years. Maybe it shows up in your relationships, or when someone asks you how you're doing and you say, "I'm fine," even though you're not sure what fine actually feels like anymore. This story is for the version of you that learned to be strong way too early. The version that survived by staying quiet. The version that carries more than they show. Because childhood emotional neglect isn't the story of what happened to you. It's the story of what never did. It's the story of the comfort you didn't receive, the questions nobody asked, the feelings no one helped you understand. And today we're going to uncover 5 signs you're still carrying it. Even in adulthood. Even right now. The first sign appears in the smallest moments. Someone asks what you want, where to eat, what movie to watch, what you need, and suddenly your mind goes blank. Not because you're indecisive, but because somewhere along the line, you learned your preferences didn't matter. You learned to choose whatever kept the peace. This isn't a personality quirk. It's conditioning. When emotional needs are ignored in childhood, the brain adapts for survival by suppressing desire. Research shows that children who grow up without emotional attunement struggle later with interception, the ability to sense what they feel, want, or need. So if you've ever wondered, why can't I just say what I want? This is why. You weren't shown how. The second sign is emotional numbness. Not being sad, not being joyful, just existing at a low hum. You function, you show up, you get things done. But something inside you feels muted, as if your emotional volume knob is stuck on 2. This happens because the brain learns very early that emotions are unsafe when they're dismissed or minimized. The brain protects you by disconnecting. It's not your fault. It's biology. The third sign is over-explaining. You apologize for everything, for asking a question, for needing help, for existing. Because as a child, you learned that emotional needs would be met only if you were easy, if you caused zero inconvenience. So now you speak in disclaimers. Sorry if this is too much. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. Sorry, I know you're busy. You learned that love was conditional. The fourth sign is that you're drawn to emotionally unavailable people. Not because you want pain, but because it feels familiar. Your nervous system is wired to recognize inconsistency as normal. When someone is emotionally present, part of you doesn't know what to do with that kind of safety. Feels foreign, almost suspicious. Emotional neglect teaches you to bond with people who cannot meet you emotionally, because that's the template your brain learned first. And the fifth sign, the one most people never talk about, is chronic self-blame. Anytime something goes wrong, you automatically assume it's your fault. There's a tightening in your chest, a sinking feeling in your stomach. Even when you logically know you didn't do anything wrong, your body reacts as if you did. This is because children who grow up with unmet emotional needs often learn to internalize the absence as a personal failure. If my parents didn't comfort me, maybe I wasn't worth comforting. These beliefs settle into adulthood like ghosts that never learned how to leave. Now take a breath with me, because this is the part where insight becomes transformation. Childhood emotional neglect is invisible, but its impact is not. Shapes how you love, how you speak, how you trust, how you attach, how you see yourself. But here's the truth most people never hear. Emotional neglect isn't a life sentence. Your brain is plastic. It learns. It rewires. Heals. Every time you name your feelings, you're breaking a generational pattern. Every time you pause before over-explaining, you're rewriting an old script. Every time you choose a relationship with emotional presence over emotional distance, you're retraining your nervous system to recognize safety. Healing isn't loud. It happens in micro moments. The morning you finally notice what you're feeling instead of brushing it aside. The moment you say, "I don't like that," and let the silence stand. The night you stop blaming yourself for someone else's inability to love you gently. I want to take you deeper into the emotional heart of this story, because this is where most people finally recognize themselves. If you grew up with emotional neglect, chances are you became the strong one, the responsible one, the one who doesn't want to burden anyone, the one who gives great advice but struggles to ask for help. People might think you're calm or put together, but they don't see the nights you lie awake feeling disconnected from everyone, including yourself. They don't see the way you analyze people's tones or facial expressions, trying to predict how to act so no one gets upset. They don't see the pressure you carry, the pressure to be okay all the time. And sometimes that pressure becomes exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion. The exhaustion of holding everything in. This tiredness, the one you can't explain, is your body whispering an old truth. You weren't supposed to handle everything alone. Let's talk about the moment everything shifts. The moment most people experience only after years of self-blame. And maybe this moment is happening for you right now. It's the moment you finally realize you weren't difficult. You weren't dramatic. You weren't too much. You were a child who needed comfort and didn't receive it. That realization can feel like a doorway cracking open. At first, it's painful, like breaking open a room you've kept locked for years. But then something softer begins to unfold. Compassion, not for others, for yourself. You start seeing your younger self not as a burden, but as someone who deserved so much more. Someone who deserved to be seen, heard, and held. This is the moment healing begins. When the story stops being about blame and starts being about understanding. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are carrying an emotional weight that was never yours. And here's the most powerful truth you'll hear today. You don't heal childhood emotional neglect by digging through the past. You heal it by learning slowly, gently, to show up for yourself now in the ways no one showed up for you then. Notice your feelings. Name them. Honor them. Treat them as valid, even when your mind doubts it. That is emotional reparenting. That is resilience. That is how you rebuild what you never received. And as we close this story, I want you to remember this. There is nothing wrong with you for wanting connection, care, or emotional safety. Those are human needs, and you are allowed to have them. Healing emotional neglect doesn't make you needy. It makes you human again. If this spoke to you, subscribe for more quiet, late-night psychology stories. The kind that help you understand your mind, your patterns, and yourself.